5 p.m. I would like to note that this is a online meeting over Zoom, as per the order of Gavin Newsom, which allows for electronic meetings to happen of Brown Act committees. It is important to note that we've put every effort in place to stop from Zoom bombing, somebody hacking into our system and taking over our stream. If that does happen, we will pause the meeting, shut down the stream, and try to restart it. And no actions will be taken during that shutdown time. If we are unable to restart the stream successfully, then the meeting will be considered closed, and all items will have to be considered at the next meeting. Public comment will work in this way. From the start of the meeting, which is now, you may submit written comment for any of the items that are on the agenda. We only have two items today, 3.1 and 3.2. And you are able to submit that public comment from right now until the end of the opening of public comment when the item is being considered. Because this is a special meeting, there is no general public comment. But there will be the next time, and it works in the same way from the beginning of the meeting to the closing of general public comment. Yeah, please consider that everyone on this meeting is in the same situation as you. We are sheltering in place in our homes, and we are attending this meeting from our home. So it may be that at any time a member of this board may choose to turn off their camera, but they will inform us if they have actually left the meeting. Even though their camera is off, they are paying attention to the meeting, they are listening in some other way. But please, if you do leave the meeting, inform us, and we will note that in the minutes as well as noted here. And there we go. I'll go ahead and have the Pledge of Allegiance read, if we could. And the flag is up. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Awesome. Great job. Can we have a roll call vote or a attendance taken, please?
Councilmember Cook?
Here.
Vice Mayor Henley?
Here.
Councilmember Harrington?
Here.
Councilmember Agramonte?
Here.
Mayor Harvey?
Present.
Thank you.
Great. All right. No closed session and no consent calendar. So it's on to item 3.1, a brief update on the city's emergency response call to COVID-19, including the following actions or potential actions: appointing a ad hoc council subcommittee to work with staff on financial impacts, appoint a ad hoc committee to work with city staff and the Chamber of Commerce and other agencies regarding business community recovery and reopening, and authorizing the mayor to sign advocacy letters on behalf of the city council regarding COVID-19 emergency, including funding for city operations, fiscal impacts, etc. I'll turn it over to Kathy Capriola, the city manager.
Great, thank you, Mayor Harvey, members of the council. I want to thank you all for doing this special meeting, and I'll be very just going to provide a brief update of a few things, set some stage. The reason I'm asked for this special meeting really is to appoint two council ad hoc committees, and I think time is of the essence, both as we work on our fiscal issues related to the pandemic and COVID-19, looking at the current year's budget, a 5-year forecast, and next year's budget, but then also looking at reopening and recovery. And I think it's really important to have council members involved in these efforts. And so that's the reason we're coming now versus waiting a week, because every day counts. So with that, I'd ask the clerk to turn the slide to the next slide, and the next one, and I'm just going to go briefly give some brief updates. So as council knows, shelter in place was through and continues to be through May 3rd. We do expect an extension coming this week. This is a decision of the Sonoma County Public Health Officer. It's not a decision of the city of Sonoma. They have been signaling that there will be some modifications to the parks order, what they're calling kind of a soft closure, So there will be some enhanced access to our local parks, and we're hoping that that comes out in the next day or two, and then we will promote to the public. There may also be some minor adjustments with a few other business categories, but it's not a kind of a general reopening at this point. It sounds like there just be maybe some minor edits to the shelter in place, and they've been signaling some of that in the press that's been being done by the Press Democrat. And I think it's just remember that even with the county public health, Sonoma County, the state shelter in place still stands in place with no date for removing at this time. County Public Health is increasing their testing. They did quite a bit over the weekend. They're going to be doing more, and this is an important step for us for our reopening. And we continue to communicate and coordinate with the hospital, our local clinic, Sonoma Overnight Support, County EOC, and county leadership. Next slide, please. So just some other updates, as just like everyone else's business operations have been impacted by this. As the business community goes, so we go. And so we are updating our 1920, and with the revenue loss for probably almost 3.5 months, depending if this goes through June, we're looking at options and scenarios for council consideration. We're also looking at a 5-year forecast, looking at all of our revenues and expenditures. And we also are beginning work on the 2021 budget and look to bring that to council in June. So there's a lot of work happening in those categories. We're also looking at, typically we would be bringing a water rate increase that would be effective July 1. We would be noticing that in June. We've had a chance to look at our overall revenues and reserves on water, and we believe that we are recommending that we defer that increase for 6 months, and we'll bring that to council for you to review and decide if you want to do that on May 4th. But we believe that that would be a way to assist both our residential customers and commercial customers at this point. And then you can decide in 6 months if should you like to continue that. So one of the things, because there is a lot of work and there's a real time crunch here, we would like to have a council subcommittee, an ad hoc subcommittee to work with us. We are looking at some budget study sessions so we can be open to the public and get their input as well before we bring actual actions to the council for your final decision making. Another area that staff is working hard on is what do we look like when we reopen, and how much I believe we will still be doing quite a bit of work virtually, but how do we protect our employees and public, and what are things we need to do now to be ready when that occurs. And then currently with commissions, we canceled most of our commissions in March and April. In May, we are looking at holding planning commission and design review. And then June, we look at picking up the other commissions. As council and the community can appreciate, we are really focused both on still working on the COVID emergency and responding and preparing for the shelter in place and different orders, et cetera, and working with the county, but then also working on budget and public information. So we are not ready to return to full regular operations yet, but that's kind of where we are with commissions starting to kind of step back into some of that. Next slide, please. And then on the recovery and reopening, so there is some pushback, sorry.
Just encourage everybody who's not speaking right now to please mute your microphone, because otherwise we're going to get a lot of feedback. Thank you.
Okay, let me try again. So our Chamber of Commerce, Visitors Bureau, Vintners and Growers are working very actively together. They have been for a number of months, actually. They've been doing some surveying of members. They're also working with the Sonoma County Economic Development Board and other kind of county agencies that are affiliated with their individual organizations. And as we look at recovery and rollout and reopening, we still will be in social distancing. We may have masks inside. There may be need to create social distancing within a restaurant or within a tasting room. And how do we do that? How do we increase capacity? So we really need to think creatively of how do we support our business community as they kind of reopen here. The chamber is working on getting bulk purchases for cleaning and sanitation supplies. So what I'm looking for is, I think there's a lot of work in this area, and it may be that we have maybe some ordinances or some requirements that council may want to consider flexing or removing for a period of time to help our economy come back and help our business community. So because of that, again, and this is going to be a, maybe we're looking at a June reopen. I don't know, but that's probably the rest of the 6 Bay Area counties just went to the end of May to extend their shelter in place. That's not Sonoma County, that's the other parts of the Bay Area. So I think we need to start getting ready so that when the dimmer switch does go on by the governor, we are ready to reopen our economy, and if we've been able to be creative. So right now we do have council liaisons. I want to thank Councilmember Cook, who's been a liaison with Vintners and Growers, and Vice Mayor Hunley, who's been a liaison with the chamber. But this is kind of a broader piece, so I wanted to come back to council and ask you for your ad hoc committee request. Next slide. And then the last item is, so these are really the items in front of you tonight. These are fairly quick items for you to give us feedback and give us action on. And then I would like the mayor to be able to sign advocacy letters on behalf of the council for the items that are listed here. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions of the council.
Questions for the council? Seeing none, I guess we'll bring it out to public comment. Public comment is open for 3 minutes.
Kathy, do you still want the screen share, or do you want me to take this off?
If you could leave it on, that would be great. Thank you. Or, and then maybe if you want, actually, if you want to take it off, and then council, it'll be easier for them to see each other when they're having a conversation afterwards. And then we can go back to the calendar in the back. Thank you.
Yes, if we have public comment, it can be read now.
This is from Lynn Marie DeVincent for public comment.
That's not on this item though, Latanya. That's on cell towers.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, we didn't have general public comment today.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
Could one of staff explain why we can't have general public comment?
Jeff, do you want to do that?
Sure. The rules under the Brown Act are pretty clear that when you have a special meeting, this is a special meeting and not a regular meeting of the council is only able to consider and discuss those items that are specified on the agenda. And as a result, comments about some other item, the council cannot consider or discuss them. So the agenda reflects that there is no opportunity for general public comment because those comments would be tonight irrelevant and not considered and not be able to be considered by the council.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Hunley. Thank you, City Attorney.
"30 seconds. Okay, Mayor Harvey.
All right, no public comment was received. Do we have, I guess I'll start with comments, or do we have people who want to speak on this?
I'd like to be on the finance committee. This is Amy.
Sure.
Oh.
I'd like to be on the ad hoc committee for business community recovery and reopening.
And I'd like
I would
to
also,
finance also.
Okay.
I would like to be on the one with the business community as well.
Okay. Hearing nothing from David, I'll go ahead and make a motion that the finance committee consists of Madeline Agramonte and Amy Harrington, that the business community reopening consists of myself and Rachel Hunley, and approve that the mayor sign advocacy letters on behalf of the city council. Should we take it all as one vote, or should we do 3 separate?
Second.
Can I make a quick comment on that last piece, the signing letters? I just wanted to say that some other cities have it, and when they do emergency declarations, they do this, but given the strong need for funding for local governments, which has not come, that it's really important that Logan be able to issue these kinds of letters. So I'm glad to see this on here.
Okay. Great.
Thank you.
Move second, roll call vote.
I second it. Yeah.
Rachel had.
We're doing one motion for all 3.
Yep.
Councilmember Cook,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Hunley,
Aye.
Councilmember Harrington,
Aye.
Councilmember Agramonte,
Aye.
Mayor Harvey.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries unanimously.
All right. Item 3.22, review and provide direction on schedule for upcoming city council and commission meetings. City manager.
Great. If I could have the city clerk put the presentation back up. So as council knows, typically we do a formal quarterly agenda. And as you also know, there were a number of things that were planned for March that got put on hold. There are still a variety of things we're not ready to come back to, but I thought it was important, just as we start looking at May and June, to have a conversation with you about what are some of the things that I do see are coming, and get any feedback that you have. This is not everything that is planned on coming on the agenda. There are some other things, but these are a few of the larger items. I haven't put consent items on, and I think there's going to be other things that are going to come out of the committees. But this is just a few of the things that we're looking at. So if you turn to the next slide, please, City Clerk. So this is looking at May. So on May 4th, we're looking at bringing an eviction ordinance per your direction. The city attorney has been working on that. We also had canceled our sustainability report for our sustainability coordinator. And I believe that is ready and could be moved forward. And then, as I mentioned, this water rate deferral. There may be a few other items if staff can get it done on that as well, but those are the key items on May 4th. And then we're looking at doing a budget workshop to bring kind of the 5-year forecast and some options and discussion for council on the 1920 budget. And I'd like to do that as a kind of a study session on the 8th. Again, we'll work with the ad hoc on this. It could be in the afternoon, or it could be in the morning session on Friday the 8th. One thing I'm trying to balance a little bit, council, I feel like these Zoom calls, while in a regular meeting, you might be able to go from 6 to maybe 10 o'clock, but the Zoom meetings, they just take a different level of focus, and we may be better off taking some smaller bites of some things than really trying to do 3 and 4 hour meetings. So that's part of my line of logic as I've thought about our calendar a little bit and talked this through with the mayor. On May 18th, this is the appeal hearing for the Verizon cell towers has been moved to, this was the date it was continued to. And then again, whatever from that budget workshop and community outreach session that we'd have on May 8th, we'd bring any budget adjustments for the 1920, our current budget, on the 18th. And then if you remember, council, another big part of your initiative was cannabis. And this was one of the projects we were working on this year. So the paper review has been done by the consultants. The interviews for the 9 firms that are still in process with us will be conducted this week. And then we would be bringing to you presentations with the final 5 was your direction, and anyone who appeals on May 27th. So those are two big items that are scheduled. Next slide, please. And then June, again, a first meeting in June, we would have the whatever resolutions based on the Verizon cannabis tax measure we've been working on as well, and would want to bring that forward and see where council wants to go. The UGB tax measure that there's been an ad hoc has been working on is now published on our website for community to provide feedback on, and we could bring that back on May 1st. And then we'd also been working on an emergency generator, which is important to get done before kind of the fire season. Again, any of these tax measures we have to have submitted to the county elections, generally by the first week in August, and we want to make sure that we're having these conversations early enough that there's time in case council wants to take a couple bites at the apple or look at them in some different ways before they get submitted. For the 2021 budget, I'm looking at either the 5th or the 12th. It really will depend on as soon as we can get things ready and give you at least a week to go look through the materials. And again, we'll work that through with the ad hoc, but this would be a workshop on one of those 2 days. I don't anticipate both of them at this point, but again, we'll work that through with the ad hoc. The 15th is another regular meeting. I think when we come to whether it's recovery issues, other things, there will be other things that will fill that slot. But at this point, I don't have specific items. And then I think we probably need to add the 29th to have you take formal action on the 2021 budget. And so those are kind of just what the next 60 days. Obviously, we've got our world got turned upside down and a couple months ago, along with everyone else. And so these are just kind of sticking with the core things we need to do. There's a whole variety of things that got put on hold that we'll have to come back and have a overall priority conversation with you as we look kind of at summer and fall. So with that, I'd be happy to take any questions of the council and any thoughts that you might have.
I have a question. You and I had discussed, I feel like we're going to be discussing some very serious things over the next few months here. And the public comment situation that we have here is fairly inadequate. People don't feel like their voices are heard, and we're getting less and less public comment than we typically do. I understand the fear of being Zoom bombed, but I'm on SCTA, RCPA, and we're able to have verbal public comment. Is there any effort being made to open that up here?
Yeah. So we are looking at a different way to do the Zoom calls where there would be a way to have people be able to, basically voice and hear their voice, whether they're calling in or whether they're using Zoom, and it's kind of a webinar format. So the city clerk is exploring that. So it is a piece that, it's one thing if we're going to be in this for a couple months, but as we're looking at a longer time period, staff agrees and we need to be looking at how do we make our engagement more robust and feel, I think, just more authentic and real to our community and to council.
I think that has to happen, especially as we're discussing things like budget and about cutting water rates and the rest of it. I think it's really important that happen. And then secondly, there was a discussion of the climate emergency resolution that was supposed to be on the March calendar and has been repeatedly pushed back. Could we have that on June 15th?
On June, yes, that's something that could get scheduled in that time if that's a pleasure of the council. Yes.
Great. Those are my questions.
One thing this is Amy. One thing I'd like to see is a list of all the things that were scheduled so that we have, so that we would know what we're proposed to eliminate here.
Yeah, and it's in my mind, it's not a matter of eliminating. It still is a matter of like, when can we schedule them? And so I'd be happy to send that list out to council of things that were kind of what I would call on the horizon that have been delayed. And then I think council, you'll need to review, and we'll have to kind of do a broader. I think we get through some of these really kind of tight timelines we've got for May and June, and then we're going to have to step back and really, look at what we have on our plate, what's new on our plate, and what are your council priorities.
Yeah, I think we should have like an agenda planning meeting which has all of our prior
Yep.
items so we can calendar it, because uncalendared things rarely come to fruition in my experience.
Yeah, we've got them all pulled aside, Councilmember Harrington, on a list, so they have not been forgotten. And it was definitely my intention that I think that's sometime probably in June that we bring those back and we have a broader kind of conversation looking at, July, August, September, October, and what is the pleasure of the council.
And then also, is the plan to continue doing Zoom meetings even after the shelter in place is lifted?
I think it depends on what the shelter in place requirements are and how we can accommodate. So I don't know the answer to that piece yet. I think we'd all like to be able to be in a room together so you all can see each other.
Yeah.
But how do we do that? Because if we are in a room together and we have to have masks on, I think that is really difficult for being able to converse with each other. So I think we're going to have to wait and see what the rules say in terms of how we do this.
And then another question I had is there thought given to just working through July, because nobody can really go anywhere in July? And so I know this is always a busy time of year for us, but having meetings twice a week from home is somewhat trying. And so I'm just wondering, are we going to still work to have that July break, or are we going to work through July?
Well, I think from a staff perspective, we would like to be able to take a break. As I think council knows, staff has been working, continually as essential workers since this kind of started in March. So being able to unplug and take some time in July, I think is going to be important from a staff balance and perspective. I know that I personally am going to need to take some time. But it doesn't mean, so I think as we look at the quarterly and look at, what some of those planning is, what does that look like? Even if folks can't necessarily, do the trips we might have all imagined, I do think for staff, we're going to need to spend some time and take some downtime.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Other questions from council? Seeing none, I'll bring it out to public comment. So there's 3 minutes on the clock to submit your public comment. And it started at the very beginning of this meeting. And it ends in less than 3 minutes now. The clock's been running since I clapped.
There's nothing as of yet, Mayor Harvey.
What's that?
We haven't received anything up until this point, but we have a few minutes left on the clock.
Yeah. I figured. I mean, whenever we start these public comments, I'd appreciate if there was previous public comments to just start reading them so we have something to fill the time. I think that's how it should work. And then hopefully we'll get away from LaTanya being forced to read our public comment and get into people speaking for themselves again. I would appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think everybody would.
Yeah. That's definitely where we want to move.
35 seconds. Okay.
All right, with that, I'll close public comment, bring it out to council for comments.
I have a
Question.
comment. Oh,
Have we talked to the appellants for the Verizon matter about whether there's a desire to do this in the midst of this global pandemic, or whether the parties would be willing to do it in the fall when perhaps things are a little less hectic?
We did, and I'll let maybe Jeff and David add on. I did ask to reach out to Verizon to see if they would push to September to give more time, then we might be able to kind of be back in chambers. They were not willing to extend to September. So, and my understanding though that they're, and I'll let David Storr, because I think he's been to have conversations, but my understanding is both sets of appellants are comfortable moving forward on the May 18th date at this point. David, is that accurate?
Yeah, hi Kathy. Well, as of about 4:30 today, I did have a conversation with Lynn Marie, and they are interested in retaining the service of counsel. And if that was the case, and I'm sure they'd be willing to have an extension if possible, so that they could kind of prepare. They haven't had legal counsel to date. They had more of the engineering side, but again, as of today, and certainly if Lynn Marie, I suggested that she listen tonight, so this would be a good opportunity for her to chime in, but I guess now she can't do that because I think we just closed the public comment period. But I hate to be putting words in her mouth, but I think she would be okay with going further out to give her more time to prepare.
The only thing I think that just for council to remember, and again, Jeff, you may chime in here, we currently have a signed agreement with Verizon that the hearings need and council's work needs to be completed by the end of June. So if council wanted to move from the May 18th to a date in June, we could look at shifting some things around on the June timeline. But my understanding is, one, the hearing needs to occur, and then two, we need a second date for the actual resolutions to come back for council approval, depending on your action. So I don't know if you want Jeff to elaborate anymore, but we do have a June 30 timeline that is a hard timeline at this point.
Yeah, I know. Oh, please. Well, I know that, with the state deadlines, a lot of them are starting to get relaxed and pushed back. And I understand that this is a private agreement and that's different, but it just seems unfortunate to me to something that's such interest to parts of the public, that it's not going to be in a place where people can participate as freely. And going to the mayor's comment earlier, I don't think our public comment mechanism has been adequate. And I know other agencies at least have some sort of phone line where people can call and leave a message that's then replayed. But I think that particularly before a land use hearing, we need to improve the way that the public can participate in our hearings.
So I have a comment, Mr. Mayor. It's interesting. I stopped watching the news, but now I look at CNBC and I found out that Verizon actually is buying out Zoom, possibly. They're creating their own conferencing company, which is called Blue Jeans. And they are touting that because of 5G, this will give them the best advantage against all competition. I thought I'd just share that.
That name's not going to give them good advantage. That's terrible. Horrific name.
Maybe. I don't
I have
know.
a comment.
Go ahead, Amy.
I guess I would just say feedback. I understand the need to change our calendar, but it was mutually agreed upon. And so I think it would have been a lot more helpful in a packet to say, this is what we had agreed on previously. These are the new proposed dates. and have a little bit more direction from council about the way things are going. And I can appreciate the shortness of time and the special meeting, but I just want to be cognizant of the fact that we are giving up our time to participate in this process, and it's got to be council prior direction needs to be reconsidered by council as well. And I feel like that's lacking in this presentation, and I appreciate all the things that are going on, so I'm just giving it as feedback.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I agree, and that's a good point about the quarterly agenda. It was something that we collectively agreed on. I think we all understand it needs to change, but it's just hard to, it seems like some things are just arriving already presumed, where should be sort of presented as this is the reality, this is what we had, we need to decide what we need to do forward.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, council. Honestly, there's what I wanted this, this has evolved really quickly, and I wanted to kind of take a quick pause, show you kind of here's where things are right now with new priorities. And again, we can have that broader kind of quarterly review, et cetera. But there were some things that were coming in terms of both the Verizon and the cannabis that I want to make sure we're on council and communities kind of mindset. So appreciate the feedback.
I'd reflect those comments as well. Don't need to restate, but I agree. I think it would have been nice to see what we had previously agreed to in comparison, what we may be losing or pushing back. I've got a note here from the city clerk that we did have a public comment that was submitted later, and just given the way the public comment works, I would like to reopen it so that they may be read into the record. I think it's appropriate. Just given what's going on right now. So if council doesn't have any issue with that. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and reopen public comment for another 2-minute period, and we'll read.
So Latonya is there.
To Mayor, Council, and staff, following up on my first comment that was sent at the wrong time, I'm recommending the Verizon hearing be continued to later in June. The complexity of this hearing with 2 appeals should be considered before an open public meeting if possible. Thank you, Lynn Marie DeVincent, Sonoma Neighbors for Safe Tech.
We've got a little bit more time left on the open public comment because I opened it for 2 minutes. We'll see if we get other submissions. I do want to say, so I thought that we allowed public comment on any item to be entered in from the very beginning of the council meeting up until the time. So she was rejected at the outset because she didn't put item 3.1 in.
She did not put that it was actually for a meeting tonight or the schedule. She just put that it was regarding Verizon cell towers.
Yeah, I mean, this is another example of why the public comment situation is not working. It's just like people don't understand this process. It's very process oriented to be like, oh, I'm commenting about the Verizon thing because it's on the agenda planning session. It makes sense for her to say, like, I'm commenting about the Verizon thing. You guys should know that it's on the agenda planning session and it's appropriate. So I just think it's like really, really, really confusing for people. It would be extremely confusing for me, even as a council member commenting in. And especially if I didn't have the kind of inside view of this. So we've got to sooner rather than later figure out a better system for public comment because it's not working.
We actively are. This has already been underway. So, we share the concern again. This is a whole new world we've unrolled, and but it's definitely being worked on.
I think we should probably agendize a discussion about it at the council level about what's going to happen. Another thing is like, you know what? Some people aren't as comfortable writing as speaking, and they may not be able to get a written comment together in 3 minutes. So I just think it's worth discussing as a group, what we've heard from the community and what might be possible at, as a discussion point.
I fully agree. Public comment is closed, by the way. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. And it just presupposes that everybody uses email, which I know most people do, but Zoom and email, it's nearly universal, but it's not.
Yeah.
Is that something we
Older
could,
people.
Yeah, there needs to be a number for people to call, and some other way to get in. And Rebecca and Kathy, I appreciate that you're working on this. I would, advise you, if you are looking for suggestions, reach out to SCTA or RCPA.
Yeah,
I thought they did a really good job.
Mhm.
The boards have done a good job with it. So this is something we can figure out. Do we have a timeline on when that can happen? Is that something we can discuss as far as?
Well, why don't we just bring, I mean, we can just put as an update report and maybe on May 4th, tell you kind of, here's what we're thinking, give you some broader work again. Whether we can roll this on May 4th, I would, the sooner we can, but there's just some complications the way the technology is set up in our council chambers and then with the Zoom interface, and there's a couple of different platforms. So it just takes a little choreography. So we understand the interest and but I think we can provide an update for you on the May 4th meeting and see if we're heading the right direction.
Obviously,
Again,
that you're
if
trying.
if we can try it on May 4th, I'm not sure we'll be there by May 4th. We want to. I mean, we think it's, we share the interest here completely.
Yeah, and I respect that you're trying to respect that there's a whole new world, and I respect that issues that have happened with Zoom bombing and all the rest of it before, and the concerns here. But
enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
Speaking of which,
there you go. All right, cool. Do we need a roll call vote on this? Or a motion?
No, I don't. This was really, I think, just to get some direction.
Enter your participant ID.
Rebecca, mute your thing.
You are in the meeting now. There are 11 participants in the meeting.
Not sure who's. Okay.
All right.
So I think this, so at this point, the one thing I am hearing from council, and I just want to be clear for any public that is watching it, in terms of the May 18th, because that is a public hearing, and the request from both the appellants and needing to make sure that we've really got an ability to do what I'm going to call verbal public comment, that the Verizon the Verizon cell sites will be looking at a different date, not May 18th, but we're looking for a date in June to still finish both meetings in the end of June. So we'll look at kind of rescheduling that, which may mean some other things bump around a little bit, but I'll work with the mayor on that.
Kathy, on that point, we do need to actually have it on the agenda for the 18th.
Yes.
And it will have to be continued on that date to a date that we determine to be.
Correct.
It just
Thank you,
keeps
David.
going.
Great. Okay. Anything else? Councilmember comments? Nope. City attorney?
I have a brief comment, just that I have two of my ledge calls this week. One on Thursday with Congressman Huffman and one on Friday with Congressman Thompson. So we'll be able to talk to them about the fact that the federal government hasn't done anything for local governments yet, and hopefully they'll have optimistic news to share.
Mr. Mayor, there is no opportunity for any further council comment. It's not on the agenda.
Oh, there you
Take
go.
back everything I just said.
I know, I didn't hear a word.
All right, great. Thank you very much. Great night, everybody.
Thank you all. Appreciate your time to do this.